All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, my name's Arsh Ellahi. We started spot on 8 o'clock, and we're here tonight to talk about a very, very interesting topic. Well, for me anyway. Just so that I know that we've got everyone online, can you hear it? Can you just say that you can hear us all loudly and clearly? That'd be great. So on the far right hand side of your screen, you should have like a little control panel, and if you wouldn't mind just saying yes or no that you can hear us. Okay, so perfect. So we've got quite a few people online tonight, and the reason why we're starting prompt on is because I've got online a very good friend of mine, also business partner to the name of Neil Ward. Neil, are you there?
Yep, I've got you, Ash. Am I loud and clear?
Indeed. Can everyone hear? Can everyone say? Yeah, okay. So everyone said that can hear us nice, loud, and clear. Right. Okay. So we're going to move straight on because we've got a lot of content to get through tonight. So in the next 60 minutes, hopefully you'll possess the skills to find landlords who are interested in the easy life. You'll be able to negotiate a win-win scenario and take on their property, so that you can easily cash flow between £500 to £1,000 per month per property. How to turn it into a cash generating business, and how to find your way to financial freedom. Now, just so that I know that we've got the right people on board, does that sound good to you? The 5 main things that you need for a rent-to-rent strategy. Okay, because I've spent a lot of time today making sure that we've got the correct content for you, and I'm really excited because it's the first time that we've done this style of presentation. So just give you a brief breakdown as to who I am and what I do. So I'm Arsh Ellahi, run a group of 12 property companies with my brother Aki Ellahi, together with landlords and letting agents. We've been letting properties since 1973, and we've now got well in excess of 500 tenants on benefits. I think it's actually closer to 700 as opposed to 500. We've got a 100% rent collection record and a very high 98% occupancy rate. So that's enough about me. But if you've never seen me before, I'm the person on the left hand side, and there's my brother on the right. You could say that we look alike, but we may not be speaking much longer. And a couple of other things that I do: I'm a speaker, author, trainer, property trainer, landlord, investor, and also franchisor of a letting agency, as well as a bit of a TV celebrity. Also wrote a award-winning and Amazon bestseller book, Boom Bust and Back Again. So that's enough about me. Now, the person that we've got online, like I said, good friend of mine and also a business partner, name of Neil Ward. So Neil, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course, Ash. Thanks for the introduction. So firstly, if my connection goes, ladies and gentlemen, it's not because I'm playing with my computer or anything. I'm actually halfway between my place in Camarillo, California right now and Las Vegas. So I'm just taking a road trip. We're actually driving there. So we've pulled over just to jump on the webinar shortly to help Ash, basically. So a little intro on me. I've been working with Ash for a couple of years now within the rent-to-rent strategy, where Ash basically called me up one day and said, you know, you've been doing really well with rent-to-rent in such a short space of time. Why don't you come and let's have a meeting and stuff, and the rest is history, really. We both were doing a very similar strategy, and we were doing it so successfully that it just generates a lot of interest. So I've been a landlord since 2015 now, so this is my 11th year. HMOs, you know, I do rent to rent, do deal sourcing, investment packaging, refurbishments, flips. So very similar to Ash, except on a slightly different scale. Ash is 100% property. You know, he's one of the most successful property investors in the United Kingdom, without a doubt. He does everything, you know, even lettings and everything, as he mentioned. Whereas mine's slightly different. I do property and all those things, but my thing really is that I'm an entrepreneur. So I have businesses across all different sectors. My latest acquisition was in the hospitality market. I'd never gone into that market before. And, you know, we're doing so well. My wife actually came in on this one. We're doing so well with our new acquisition. It's crazy. And like Arsh, I do speaking. I own a forward thinking group. So if you want to, if you have a look on there, you'll see some of the businesses that I own. And here's the key thing for some of you guys is that I'm a corporate marketing trainer as well as a sales trainer. And basically what that means is that I go to very large corporations who have already got marketing departments and marketing executives and sales trainers and things like that. And I actually look at theirs and I use more of a guerrilla style to shake things up and increase their sort of return on investment, get them selling better, doing their marketing better. And the reason that's good for you is because I actually work with Arsh and I sort of teach a lot of the marketing, teach all the sales training, which is why everyone that comes on the webinars is going off and being so successful, because they're saying, oh wow, I just got that one little tip there and it works so well for me. I think that's enough from me, Arsh, if you want to take back over.
Okay, so the reason why tonight's webinar is quite interesting is because everyone talks about this thing called financial freedom. What is financial freedom? And we'll go on to this in a short while. Now, just ask yourself this question. Can you afford to take off 3 to 6 months in a year on whatever you're doing now and go and travel to the other side of the world? Would you mind just answering that question for me? Because the reason why I say that is because in actual fact, this is what Neil does. And both I and Neil spend a lot of time out of the UK. I predominantly have a lot of vacations abroad, go away a minimum of 3 to 4 times a year. And Neil actually has a residence. Have you got a property over in California, Neil?
Yeah, Camarillo, California.
Okay, so that's where Neil is at the moment. And you're going to be over there for approximately 3 months. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so
actually we're just driving right now through to Vegas because we want to look at house prices in Vegas are a little bit lower than California, and it's another world. If any of you ever go out to Las Vegas, for a holiday and stuff, just go around and do some house hunting. It's just so much fun, and you see these huge mansions and you think, oh wow, this must be worth millions and millions. It's like, oh no, this is on the market for $400,000 US or $800,000 US, and you think, wow, that's like the value of my house in the UK, and this is a huge mansion. So it really is another world.
okay, so like I said, that's what's really interesting. That tonight's webinar, we are going to play on the fact that you can actually get financial freedom. You can systemize it so that you don't have to physically be in the country to run the portfolio. Now, Neil, just correct me if I'm wrong, but your portfolio hasn't come to a halt because you're at the country. Is that correct?
100%. Yeah. Even when I'm in the UK, I spend at the most 20 minutes a day. If say there was a slight challenge I had to deal with, it might take me 40 minutes in a day. But yeah, no more than 20 minutes each day to generate the sort of returns that I've got. With like Arsh, we have, I wouldn't say the biggest portfolio in the UK, but we're definitely up there with two of the biggest portfolios. And 20 minutes a day, that's all I spend.
Okay, so moving on. So here's where you come into play. Here's where you guys listening now come into play. Here's our commitment to you, because the one thing that we're asking you now is, what's your why? Why are you involved in property? Why are you here on this webinar tonight? More importantly, what is it what's brought you here? What do you want to do with the income that you're going to generate from property? If you wouldn't mind just type in your why into the question box, that'd be great. Because here, what we've started look, if you have a look at some of the images that we've got on screen, is that we talk about health, we talk about time, we talk about relationships, we look at family, we look at travel. But these are all the things that So we're looking at family. We want to quit the job. We want a retirement pot. We want a pension pot. We want to help the children. Time and family and holidays. Learn more about rent to rent. Okay. Free up time. Extra cash flow to have monthly income. Okay, great. So we've pretty much covered all the points that we've got on the slide there. Now, the reason why people are going to ask the question. Now, I'm going to say to you now, there's no better opportunity other than right now to get involved in rent to rent. The reason why I say that is because, as you're aware, Public enemy number one is right on the screen right about now. For every investor and every landlord in the country pretty much wants this guy's guts for garters. And the reason why I say that is because he's making it more difficult for investors to get involved in property. He's making it more difficult for investors to acquire property. Now, for everything, so any investment property is put a minimum of a 3% stamp duty charge on, which increases the cost to acquire. Then he's put a charge on the income that you're going to be generating. So it's actually income and not profits. So that makes it extremely more difficult. So we need to start thinking a little bit more strategic about how we acquire property. And this is the beauty about rent to rent, because to get involved with rent to rent, you need very little capital. And the reason why we're going to talk about that is the reason why I like rent to rent is because I'm at a point now where I've been financial free since the age of 25. I'm now 36. So I've been financial free for 11 years. But in actual fact, the one thing that I'm really worried about is people that are going off and getting mortgages, etc. That because banks have tightened up so much, you've become a slave, almost working for the purpose of the bank, because there's very limited cash flow in property now. When you acquire it, you've got to get the mortgage, you've got to pay for a solicitor, you've got to pay for the application fees. After you've totted all that up, after you've taken into consideration maintenance, voids, there's very little cash flow left. All the money that you generate covers the cost of the mortgage, the insurance, the building's insurance, and you're thinking, what's the point? And remember that when you're buying a property, you're committed to that property for the term of the mortgage. So whether that be 10 years, 15, 20 or 25 years. And the one thing that you don't want to be is a slave to the business. Would you agree, Neil?
100%.
And this is where so many people talk about, oh yeah, I've got 50 properties. Okay, let's have a look at the borrowing on that. Okay, they've got 85% mortgage on that. When you start to break it down, in actual fact, they're not making a great deal. In actual fact, a lot of them will only just about be breaking even. Now, I don't know about you, but my thought of financial freedom is far greater than just breaking even. What's the point? If you're not making money from it, what is the point? Okay, you may be playing the long-term game, but I'm here to make money so that I can generate cash flow. So just one thing that I've just... does everyone know of a magazine called Your Property Network? Because I write a monthly column in it, and here's one that I wrote specifically for the rent-to-rent strategy, and this was actually in November 2014, believe it or not. I can't believe it's been that long. And so we started looking at the figures, and you can actually see that it actually makes a lot of money. In this example here, in example number 2, I actually make over £2,000 a month on this property alone, which is pretty much 24 grand a year, which is equivalent to 1 year's annual salary for the average worker. But I only need one property for that. Now, the reason why we like rent to rent, because when you
Hey,
look at...
Arsh,
Yes, mate.
can I just jump in a second?
Yeah.
You made a really valid point a couple of slides back. And to take that one step further, the other thing I'd say to add on to what you said, a lot of people, they might even earn good money, through doing property. But here's the thing, what's the point in killing yourself for £30,000 a year? Like some people do. They've got, 50 houses. We've heard it all the time. Arsh, when we've gone to meetings, I've got 50 houses and it earns me 30,000 a year. And yet they're working 12, 14-hour days, doing maintenance, running around like crazy. And I don't think that's really a good standard of living, because the other hat to wear here really is, you've got to look at it from a point of view, what's the point in earning that money if I'm killing myself each day and I'm still not getting that time with my family? That's not really what it's about. It's about systemizing whatever business you do, whatever property strategy you do. It's about systemizing it, having the right management in place, the right people and systems, so that you can actually enjoy yourself. You can go on holiday for however long you want. You can take your kids to the park. You can you can be a family person, whatever it is you want to do, without having to run around like crazy all the time. And I think that's the other part of the equation that a lot of people miss. They just look at it as, oh, I can make this money through property. And then next thing you see them, their hair's grey, and they've been running around like crazy, and it's just not. Yeah, I think that's just the point I wanted to add to what you said there, Arsh. So that's good.
No problem. Okay, so with rent to rent, the beauty of it is because you don't actually own the property, you're controlling the property. And Nelson Rockefeller is one of the most successful business people in the world. He said that the secret to success is to own nothing but to control everything. And that's pretty much when you look at some of the larger organizations today. Facebook doesn't own any content. Airbnb doesn't actually own any accommodation. More important, Uber doesn't actually own any taxis. Now, they're just three examples. Now, when you start to look at it, why some of the large organizations around the world doing so well? Because they don't tie themselves up with assets. Because you could consider an asset a liability. So just moving forward. Now, would you mind just saying on the webinar, could you tell us your experience with rent to rent? I don't mind at all if you say I've got no experience whatsoever. Okay, so fine. So some people come in straight away and say they've got none. So we're going to start it from bare basics. So this is why rent to rent works. Because there's no mortgage involved, there's no solicitors involved, there's no 25% deposit that you require, so no 75% mortgage. In actual fact, there's very little capital involved, and it's a lot easier to generate cash flow, which instantly creates a business. Okay, so here's how it works. So there's three people involved. There's a landlord who owns a property, then there's you who will be looking to take the property off the landlord, and then there's a tenant who will be living in the property. So three people are actually in the transaction. And in simple terms, you rent the property from the landlord. You may have to spend a bit of money just on a light refurbishment. And then you rent the property out room by room, which will give you a profit per month. And just give me I'm conscious of the fact that we've got Neil online and he is on telephone. So I'm conscious of the fact that I want to get to the content as quickly as possible. Now, as a standard single let, let's just say that you're renting your property out for £850 a month. Now, one thing that I don't like about single lets is that when it's vacant, it's not producing any money whatsoever. And that means that then you're starting to become liable for other costs like council tax, etc., etc. You still, unfortunately, whilst it's vacant, you can't go to the mortgage company and say, well, mortgage company, do you mind if I have a payment holiday because it's vacant? They're going to say, sorry, Mr. Investor, either pay up or we're going to start to repossess. Now, let's just use for the example that we've got a 4-bedroom property here with a living room on the ground floor, dining room on the ground floor, kitchen and bathroom. Now, if you were to multi-let this property, you could very easily turn this into a 5-bed HMO where you use the dining room as an additional bedroom, which means that you've now got 5 cash flowing or cash generating rooms in a property. It'd be very rare, other than the start, that you'd have all 5 rooms vacant, which means that at any one point this property should continuously keep generating you any cash. Then you've got the communal lounge, and then you've got the communal kitchen and the communal bathroom. Now, for the purpose of this example, 5 rooms generating £400 a month is £2,000 a month. Now, take out the bills and take out the rent that you're paying to the landlord at £850, and the bills, which will include council tax, water rates, electricity and gas, will give you an approximate profit of around £800 a month, which is £9,600 a year. That's just off one property. Now ask yourself, how many properties do you require in order for you to get to your financial freedom figure? On the basis that each of them are generating approximately anywhere between £500 and £800, how many properties do you need? Okay, so Stuart's coming straight away with 4, Dora's saying 4. Okay, so on average, people are saying that they need around £2,000 a month, between £2,000 and £3,000 a month. Okay, Chris is saying that he needs 10. Okay, expensive lifestyle. Okay, no problem. So the average figure is around 4, which is around between £2,000 and £2,500 a month. Okay. So moving on, Neil, you still with me?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
here, Arsh.
brilliant. So we're going to very briefly now start talking about how do we find these landlords? More important, why would these landlords give them to us?
Okay, great. Do you want me to jump in?
Yeah, yeah. This is you.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Right. So I've not actually seen any of these slides, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm just looking straight for the first time at what Arsh has put on here. So, okay. So I can see from the screen advertisements. This is one of the big things that I like to do. Advertising is one of those areas that, unless you've done a degree in it or you really understand it through experience, most people just waste their money. In fact, 99%, it's proven, it's shown through statistics and research, 99% of money spent on advertising is completely wasted. So I'm going to give you a few tips based on my experience, especially within the property field, because I was in that 99% for many years, so I can openly share that. So here's the key thing when you place an advert, especially rent to rent specifically, and you want to find landlords. Number one, you've got to make it really, really simple. Don't overcomplicate it with lots of graphics and crazy colors and, you know, rainbows and, you know, just fill in the page with text and stuff like that. The key is you just want to make a really simple headline. So your headline could be "Attention Landlords," for example. That's the one I usually use. And then you want a subheadline. "Are you still paying letting agent fees?" Question mark, exclamation mark. Right. And then I would put in there the benefits of using my service. So all the benefits of rent to rent, they're the same across anywhere in the UK. Free management, no fees for life, free refurbishment on your property, no hassle dealing with tenants. Okay, so that's just to give you an idea. They're the basic main benefits of rent to rent. And usually for most landlords, that will push them over the edge. They're happy with that and they'll take up your offer. So that's the first thing with the advert. You've got to keep it really simple. You've got to make it really clear. Put in there headline, subheadline, a few bullet point benefits, and then you want a call to action at the end. So your call to action would be something like call now, call Neil, call Sarah on, and then your phone number. So really simple. What you don't want to do is you don't want to start putting websites in there and call 0845 numbers. You really want either a local rate number or a mobile phone number. And if you want to, you can be more specific. So if you know the exact area you want to target, you can put that. So for example, with me, I only target within 20 minutes walk of the city centre. So, you know, that's, 1 mile. So I'll say qualifying properties within 1 mile of the city centre, and that's in small print. So that's the main thing with adverts. You don't want to spend lots of money on advertising. It's not needed. And the other big tip I'd say is don't just do one big advert. So I see this a lot where people spend all this, they get all their money together and they just do one big blast, one huge, half page or full page spread in the newspaper, and they get 1 or 2 calls from it. Might get a few more, but not usually more than that. So they do 1 or 2 calls and that's it. But what anyone that's in advertising, professional advertising, they will always do one simple thing, and they will always try and get you to advertise every week, every day, every month. And the reason for that is proven that people need to see an advert or they need to see something 7 times before they usually take action. Now that's not set in stone, because from a sales training point of view, I know there's always 3 to 4% of people that will buy anything right now. So it doesn't matter what I'm selling, there'll be 3 or 4% in the market to buy it right now. So the rule isn't 100% true when you know different disciplines. So I know marketing, sales, advertising. So there is a little bit of overlap with some of them. But if you follow the general rule, small advert like the size you see on screen here, and you repeat that week after week, month after month for however many months, 6 months or so, 4 months, 5 months, you've got the budget for it, you will get a drastically better results than just doing one big blast out of an advert. So I think that's enough to get you going with the basics of advertising. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, here's my other top tip then. I always hear people saying, oh, I do this to find landlords, I do that. And I know from my own experience that when I tried all these methods, they did not work. So I, like other people, I went on property training courses and I wanted to learn about rent to rent, and I wasted so much money learning from people who, just being honest here, they didn't know what they were talking about. So my advice is always, in any field, if you want to learn something from someone, you learn it from the people who are the best at it. So I would never, if I wanted to learn karate, I wouldn't just go to a guy who's been doing karate for a year. I'd go to someone who's been doing it for 30, 40 years, who's like a master. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't do that in the property industry who are trainers. They do something for a year and then they set themselves up. So here's one thing I found was that most of the methods I was taught did not work. What did work was this. I went direct. So I took all my marketing direct to landlord. And what that means is that I would, here's an example. I would see property boards up. So this property is to let, and I would look at the address, I'd write the number down, and then I'd go onto the land registry portal. So any of you can access that land registry, and I would download the title deeds for that house. Again, most people don't know that you can do this, but it's completely allowed. No problems with it at all. You download the title deed for that property, and it will tell you everything you want to know about that property. If there's a mortgage on there, who owns it, what's, even if they don't live at that property, the landlord, it will show you their home address elsewhere, how much the property was bought for, all these things. Once you've got that information, you can just write a letter to that landlord. Now, it took me, I'd say, a good 3 months to get this right, but now I've got a letter template that I send out, and every time it sort of gets the landlord, and they might not call me every time. Let's be honest, not everyone's going to call, but I know it gets them all every time. And that's just using very clever guerrilla marketing, having things on the envelope, making sure that it's all on point, basically. So when they get these letters, they open it, they read it, and there's a process. And I teach this as well in marketing and sales. There's a process to everything. So the whole point of the letter is just to get the phone call. Again, a lot of trainers will teach you, oh, the letter is to get the deal, but it's not. You would never jump up. If you wanted to climb to the top of a ladder, you wouldn't jump from the first rung to the last rung. What you do is you build up slowly. So you send the letter, and that's to get the phone call. And that's the only purpose. And then the only purpose of the phone call is to get the meeting with the landlord. And then from the meeting with the landlord is to build that rapport, and it's eventually to get that deal with them. So that's the process. It's not, how a lot of people will tell you, oh yeah, you just write this letter and you get a deal. It doesn't actually work like that. Nothing in life does work like that. The other thing you'll see, there's coloured envelopes on there. I always colour my envelopes and I handwrite them with a first class stamp because it looks like a birthday card. That's the reason I do it, and the landlord will always open it. So there's a little top tip there. Next slide, Arsh, what have we got? Okay, here's the other one I came up with a while back, and I actually stumbled upon this strategy, and it turned out to be absolutely amazing. And I can't remember the exact details how it came about, but one day I was chatting with, or 1 week should I say, I was chatting with my plumber, with my builder, with the electrician, and I was telling them about what I was doing in terms of rent to rent. And I'm joke you not, within that week, just from telling them what I was doing, I got 4 deals in 1 week. And that's interesting because a lot of you on the webinar have been typing to Arsh that you need 4 deals. I did that in a week. And all I did was I put the word out to all the tradesmen contacts, exactly what I do. And if you help me to put me in touch with any landlords, I will pay you £250 cash. Now, you might think, well, that's not a great deal of money. To a tradesman, £250 and cash, those magic words, is a big deal. So what they'll do is they will go out and they will look for you. Or they'll probably have someone off the top of their head that they met last week, or they went to their house the other day, something like that. And they'll end up being a good contact for you. So I just built an army of tradesmen. That's why the picture on here is so many people. I just built a huge army of tradesmen. These aren't my tradesmen, by the way. But I built this army of them, and they were just bringing me deals and deals and deals all the time. Eventually, I had to just stop taking them because I couldn't. There's only so many you can do. And again, if people say to you, you know, oh, I did 10 deals in 2 months and things like that, they're usually not telling you the truth. Even the best students that have gone through mine and Arsh's training have done sort of, you know, 2 or 3 deals a month. That's what they've been doing. You know, so a lot of times, you know, you see on forums, oh, I did 10 deals, I did 20 deals, and it's not, you know, you can't do that many in a short space of time because there's refurbishment, you've got to fill the rooms, you've got to do a bit of marketing, you've got to meet with landlords and things like that. So don't ever let anyone sort of rush you or make you, you know, feel like they're doing better than you, because everyone has to go at their own pace in this strategy. And even if you do just 1 property a month and you're making, let's say 600 a month, which is very low for a rent-to-rent. So 600 a month, you just do 1 a month, within a year, you're making £7,200 a month. Sounds hard to believe, but it's completely doable. Within my first year, I topped just over 12,000, I think it was. Might have been 11,000 within my first year, monthly cash flow. And that wasn't going at it full force. I was, you know, I was spending a fair amount of time on it, but I wasn't doing it 40 hours a week, you know. So Arsh, I'll pass it back over to you there, I think, unless there's another slide.
Let's just keep moving. Just bear with me a second, Neil. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually have to get running now, Arsh. I can't spend any longer on the webinar. But I hope that content was useful for you all, ladies and gentlemen. And I do hope that I'll see you all very shortly. If you do come for any training with us in the near future.
Okay. Well, what I'll be doing, don't worry, guys. We've still got a lot of content to go through, and like I said, what I'll do is any questions that come through directly for Neil, I'll pass them on, and then we'll try and get them answered that way. Neil, okay, have a safe journey, mate, and then let's touch base tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Arsh. Bye now. Bye.
Okay, so Neil unfortunately has had to shoot off because, like I say, he had pulled up at a service station in order to take the call for the webinar, and he did say to me at the start, he goes that he wasn't sure that he'd be able to stay on for the whole hour. But regardless of the fact, is that you've got to remember that I've been doing rent-to-rent for a number of years now, and I've got, I think it's 32 rent-to-rent properties, and each one generates £1,000 a month. Now, working on the basis of £1,000 a month at 32 properties, you do the maths. And more importantly, it's cost me nothing to acquire these properties. But in short, everyone can do this strategy. There's no reason why you, on this webinar, shouldn't be able to do this strategy. And here's some of the skills that are involved. Negotiation is the key. You've got to have the ability to create a win-win-win scenario. You've got to be able to have the sales patter and the communication, which is all the stuff that you use in pretty much everyday life. Now, just giving you an example now, negotiation is part of everyday life, you know, even to the point of where you've got children. Now, I've got 2 very young kids, one that's 2.5 and one that's 1 year old. So negotiation for me is a big part of my everyday life. Now, my 2.5-year-old daughter today asking me if she could go to the dessert shop, and we had to negotiate as to why. I didn't think that was a great idea, but in actual fact, we got around to another way of thinking that, in actual fact, a glass of water was probably a little bit of a healthier option as opposed to dessert. So there's lots of things. Now think about it. Just what have you done today that has required some form of negotiation, and how did that negotiation go? Because we need to ask yourself, are you a strong negotiator? The reason why I say that is that it's very much, I know this is a really bad analogy, but just imagine that you're in a nightclub and you see the most beautifulest woman on the other side of the dance floor. Now, if you want to try and get together with that lady, you don't have to negotiate with her, I'm hoping, but technically speaking, there's got to be some form of communication, and hopefully she'll get to come. The thing is that you want to get her to come around to your way of thinking. Now, around 25 to 40% have already, on all the people that we've trained, around 25 to 40% have already gone off and got 2 to 3 rent-to-rent properties and have also done another rent-to-rent course and not had the success. So why did they come to us? And there's 3 key facts. Is because we're the only ones that show you our exact formula to rent-to-rent success that you can repeat our results. Step 2 is because it's the only course delivered by a sales trainer of sales trainers that teaches you how to negotiate with landlords too. And we teach you the direct to vendor strategies, not letting agents. We believe that going direct to an owner will get you the greatest success as opposed to going to a letting agency. There are ways that you can work with letting agencies, and we will teach you that on the day. But the majority of the days are consistently talking about going direct to the owner. Now, we are going to put this out there, is that we are running a 2-day event, and it is I think it's the first or second weekend of May. And if you were to buy this any other day, you would be looking to pay approximately £2,000 plus VAT. And here's a couple of things on the day. We'd be looking at how to find your area, how to get in front of a large amount of landlords, how to create a high-end finish for a low-cost budget, how to become legally compliant, how to calculate the numbers. More importantly, we'll be looking at the negotiations tactic and the buying and the selling psychology patterns, the exact process for taking a prospective landlord from first letter to phone call to actually a deal, and how to overcome the objections. Now, not everyone that you speak to is going to say, oh, here you go, here's my keys. There are going to be questions that they ask. Why should I give this to you? You know, what makes me the right person? What makes you the right person to take my prized asset off me? So that's just something that we obviously run. Now, what's required in the rent-to-rent strategy? Now, if you're the kind of person that's going to put one advert out and expect 50 inquiries and you're going to convert all 50, unfortunately, this isn't for you. I'd be completely open and honest with you. The reason why I say that is because this strategy needs hunger, it needs focus, it needs discipline, it needs communication skills, it needs internal motivation. You are going to get knockbacks at the start whilst you're getting your flow. People will say, yeah, unfortunately, no, I'm going to stick with what I'm doing. And it happened to me. And you've got to remember that I've been involved in property for a long time. And this was a new strategy for me. It's going to take enthusiasm. It's got to take dedication, consistency again, internal motivation again. Because when you get a knockback, there are going to be times where you think, well, yeah, maybe this isn't for me. But it's about like falling off a bike. What do? Do you give up on cycling, or do you get back on the bike and you learn how to ride it again? And the biggest one is self-direction, because so many people can fall into the property strategy. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to conquer the world, as Neil said. And you've got to have the discipline in order to create the self-direction. Does that make sense, guys? But most of all, you have to have passion. And this is something that you use in everyday life. The reason why I say passion now, let's just for argument's sake, when you go to meet a landlord, if you don't show them that you're passionate about their property, you don't show them that you're the best thing for them, their asset, and their convenience, and you don't put that across in a passionate manner, why would they give it to you? You need to tell them that they're the best thing that's going to happen to their property, that you're going to look after it in a manner which no other letting agency will, but more importantly, you're not going to contact them for every little thing and start disturbing them for any little maintenance issue. Because I'm a big believer that working hard for something we don't care about is called stress, but when we're working hard for something we love, it's called passion. Now, with rent to rent, as I've said, negotiation is the key. Because if you don't know how to negotiate, you could have 100 leads of 100 properties sitting in your inbox. But if you don't know how to convert them, what's the point of generating the leads? If everyone that you talk to, you get the spiel wrong, you get the script wrong, you don't know what to say, you don't come across in the right manner. What's the point? Because all you're going to do is get knockbacks, and that's cost you money to generate those leads. Now, I'd like to think that for all the leads that I generate, I pretty much convert approximately 98% of them. Now, the script is the key, because remember, talking to a landlord, they're going to be looking for you as to think, well, why do I give it to you? So what's really important is what you speak to them about and how you speak to them about it gives them the confidence that you're the best thing for their property. More importantly, the devil is in the detail, because if you get your figures wrong, it can cost you. But the good thing about property is that property can be such a calculated risk that you don't need to take a risk. If it doesn't work, you walk away. Understand what the break-even point is. Now, one thing that I will do is that I will be giving everyone a copy of everyone that comes on one of our workshops in the future, our management contracts and our break-even point, our cash flow calculators, so that you don't have to make that mistake. Understanding what you do and how you do it, and more importantly, how long does it take you to get your money back, is an interesting point. Because once you understand that, that's the key. Now, got to ask yourself, where does this work? Well, this works nationwide. Because all you're after is landlords and even letting agents that are willing, or that you're able to find, track down, speak to them about their property. And it really is as simple as that. Now, I'm going to talk to you about a little bit about a workshop that we're running, just briefly, on the 7th and 8th of May. And the reason why we're going to be talking about it is because everything that we've covered in tonight's webinar, as you can appreciate, we can only cover as much in an hour, but give us 2 days and I will turn you into a rent-to-rent machine. So we'll be looking at how to identify and dominate your gold mine area. When we talk about gold mine area, we're looking at the numbers. Is there a demand for it? How do we identify that demand? Do the figures work? There's no point spending a load of money on marketing if the figures don't stack from the outset. So it's a bit of, it's not even trial and error. It's a case of understanding your area, finding out what is your patch. How do the figures work in your patch? Is there sufficient demand for your patch? Supply and demand is a key, because there's no point setting up a HMO in an area where it's never going to let out. Because the only person that will win in that scenario is the landlord. How to get in front of a large amount of landlords. How to put yourself as that authority. How to understand so that people come to you and actually just hand you the keys. Now, if you come and sit with me in my office, everyone that comes on my workshop has the opportunity to come and spend the day with either Neil or I, where you can come and sit in the office and you will see people literally just come and hand us keys. Now, Neil will be talking to you about how to create a high-end finish for a low cost. And some of the workshops I actually take you out. If any of you are friends with me on Facebook, you'll see that I've actually done quite a few videos where I've thrown people out on Sunday mornings at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we go out and we practice our negotiation skill at a car boot sale. Now you're thinking, well, what the hell am I going to do at a car boot sale? But think about this now. When you go to a car boot sale, what are the people selling? They're selling their prized possession, and naturally they want to get as much for them as they can. Now, remember, the key to rent is negotiation. You want to buy it for as cheap as you can. So what's the best way of trying to figure out if you're the best negotiator and where you may need some slight improvements, should I say? And the people that have gone off and done that at the boot sale really have come back with some great results. How to be legally compliant, because we all want to make sure that we're legally compliant and we all want to make sure that we're doing everything above board and we don't want to get caught out in any of the loopholes. How to calculate the numbers and the profits on each deal. Remember, if it doesn't work, you've got to understand from day one that it doesn't work and how to walk away. And Neil's going to be talking about the exact model of how he managed to get to cash flow of 11K, 11 grand a month in 1 year. And on day 2, we will solely be concentrating on negotiation, because negotiation is the key. Looking at buying patterns and sales psychology. The exact process for taking a prospective landlord from the first letter to an actual deal. We'll be doing lots of role play. There'll be lots of action call out points. How to overcome objections. Remember, a landlord will ask you lots of questions. How you answer those questions will be the key and the determining factor as to whether you get the deal or not. As I said, you'll be performing live interactions on the day, and you'll learn Neil's relationship selling model, which is the 12 sales steps. Now, one of the last workshops that we did, we had quite a few members. You can see it's quite a large room. We actually had Channel 4 filmers for that. And here's some of the people that come and done some of our workshops. So you'll notice that a lot of them. Now, one guy actually approached us. Well, he came on our workshop in February 2015. And I touched base with him last month. Well, I've been in contact with him for the last 12 months because he constantly calls me. And just out of curiosity, now, would you mind telling me how many properties you think he has taken on within a year? And he's based in Croydon in London. Now, people always say to me, Arsh, this strategy will never work in London. Okay, so some people are saying 3, some people are saying 9, 10, 12. Anyone else? Okay, Leslie said 21, 20. The actual answer is 18. And the average cash flow that he's generating in London is around £600 per month. Now, I haven't got my calculator to hand, but I can have. Now, work on the basis of 18 properties times 600 per month. He's making £10,800 a month. Now, times that by 12 is £129,600. So that's what he's producing as cash flow. And he only started, he was new to the whole strategy, but he had all the key skills that we're after. Determination. He was self-motivated. He has done extremely well. Now, one of the ladies that have, and here's more people that have been on it. So we've trained hundreds of people over the years, and they've done so well. These are just some of the guys. Because what I want to actually do is turn you into a lead magnet, where you'll be getting between 6 and 10 leads a month using a low-cost guerrilla marketing technique. Now, I'm not going to tell you to go out and put a load of boards on lampposts. I'm not going to tell you to go and print out 15,000 leaflets and hand deliver them through your door. That's not my strategy. What I want to do is teach you how to build long-lasting relationships with the investors so that they become repeat customers for your deals. Now, for me, I deal with solicitors, accountants, dentists, doctors, and solicitors, accountants, and there's one other group that I completely forgot. So there's 5 groups of people that I try and deal with, because these are the kind of guys that love the thought of owning property but hate the thought of managing property. Now, if I can relieve them for their time and give them convenience, why wouldn't they come to me, providing I can show them that I'm the right person to look after their property for the next 7 years? And one of my one of my best ever marketing tactics was actually creating a credit card size classified ad that made the phone ring for months, and it only cost me £57 to do that. I'll be showing you how we did that. And more importantly, here's the key, is that anyone that comes on our workshops, we will give you all the documents that you need so that from the very next day, you can go out and do it. And it really is as simple as that. So we give you the management contract. We give you the ASTs to use with your tenants. We give you all kinds of documents. We give you the mind maps, the marketing mind maps. We give you the cash flow calculator, and so many more documents. Now here's where it is, because you can have it all for just $9.95 for the whole weekend, whereas previously we were charging just under £2,000 plus VAT. And I'm so confident that what we deliver is of great value that I'm actually offering you a money back guarantee as well. So for any reason, at the end of day one, you decide, you know what, Arsh, this isn't for me. All you got to do is come and have a chat with me at the end of day one, and I'll give you your money back. And it really is as simple as that. All I ask is that you fully participate, and that you have all the tools that you need to succeed. And the reason why we say that is because I believe that everyone has the opportunity, or at least try the rent-to-rent strategy. It's going to cost you very little to do, but you've got everything to gain. You'll have the knowledge to go out and meet landlords. Now, on the back of this, I've built so many other property businesses. I've built myself a letting agency. I've done so many other things as a result of this. So remember, more importantly, you'll get the support from myself and Neil. And all you've got to do is, if you do want to book onto it, now's your time, because I'm going to ask you a serious question. Is that we've all talked tonight about what our reason why is. We want to find time for our family. We want to find time so that we can sack our boss. We want to find time to travel. We want to find time to educate ourselves. I'm giving you the opportunity. I'm giving you the opportunity so that you can actually do this. You're going to have all the skills and tools. Now, if you go off to any other training company, I can pretty much imagine they will charge you the best part of £5,000 to do this for a weekend. But I can pretty much guarantee that you'll come back to me and say, well, Arsh, I wish we did yours, because we haven't got all the documentation that we require. Now, Kelvin's coming straight away and goes, Arsh, how many people are on the course at any time? We never take more than 30 people. I believe we've already got the best part of 20 people booked on, so there's actually only 10 spaces available. All you got to do is go to that link there, which will take you to a page, and all you do is you go through and you pay for it. Now, because what I want to do is turn you into a rent-to-rent machine. Now, you've got to ask yourself the question, is that, how does that sound? Would you like the thought of people literally coming and handing you keys and say, here you go, Arsh, or here you go, Edward, here's a key to a property. I'm sick of the sight of it. I've had tenants that have been running around, causing loads of damage. Can we do a deal where you can take it off me for 3, 5, or 7 years? That's the best scenario ever. Now, I had one person, let's just make sure they're not online. One person came to me only this week, and they said, Arsh, I've got a property. It's up in Grimsby. If you're on my marketing emails, which I'm assuming a lot of you will be, you'll see that I put a deal out in Grimsby last week. He came to me and said, Arsh, I live 5 hours away from the property. The property is doing my head in. Can we do something? Well, pretty much we agreed it's a 10-year deal on that. Now ask yourself the question, what could you do with the property? If you bought the property, what would it do? What would you have to spend? You'd have to spend 25% deposit. Then you'd have to buy legal fees. Then you'd have to do mortgage application fees. Then you have to pay surveyor's fees. Then you have to go through a whole rigmarole, 3% stamp duty. But in actual fact, all he's done is said, Arsh, here's the keys. Here's how much I owe a month. Here's how much I want. Can you make it work? Here you go. Now, here's what you're going to receive. So you'll get the rent-to-rent training day. You get the sales training day. You get the management contract, which cost me and Neil over £3,000 to create. You'll get all my legal documents, templates, and adverts. We'll give you our templates. The one thing I forgot to tell you is that we actually give you the template of the letter that we write out to all our landlords. I'm also going to give you what I call my Key to Success USB, which is one that has got all my documents. Tox has just asked a very good question. Where is the course being held? Sorry, I completely missed that point. So you're also going to get a membership to a rent-to-rent secret group, which is on Facebook, which only course attendees can come on. You get a one-on-one call with Neil after the course, and you get lifetime support. So you've got well in excess of 10 grand's worth of benefits there. And you can have it for £995. It's going to be held at the Jury's Inn on Broad Street in Birmingham. And on Saturday night, what we can do, what I've started to do is, if people are up for it, we tend to either sit in the bar and have some drinks, or we actually can go out for a group meal where you can get to know us a bit more. We let our hair down, we have a bit of fun. It's not all work, 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 work. And here's a bonus, is that if you book tonight, you can bring a business partner for free. That's right, I'm allowing 2 people to attend for the price of 1. Sorry, I'm just reading some questions. And Yasser has asked, is the key to success all to do with LHA tenants, which is benefit tenants? No, it's not, because all in there, we've got all the documents in there. So for argument's sake, we've got documents regarding this. You can use it for benefit tenants if that's what you want, because there is a benefit application forms in there. There's also Tasker payment form applications in there. There's this. You got to remember, I've got a 100% rent collection record, and what I've done, I've spent the last 15 years creating spreadsheets, which we put in the USB, which is going to come with the course tonight. I've got quite a few questions, which I'm going to come through. So Sunil's just asked, where is this being held? Again, I'll quickly. It is at the Jury's Inn, which is on Broad Street in Birmingham. And whilst you're doing that, I'm just going to quickly answer some of the questions. So Sean has asked, if you've got any questions, now's your time. Sean has asked, what is the minimum number of rooms you can create from the houses? Now, it all depends on the kind of property that you take on. I wouldn't create a 3-bed HMO. The absolute minimum is a 4-bed. I always like to go for 5 beds plus. That's my rule of thumb. I know that Neil likes to take on 4 and 5 beds. I like 5 plus. So it all depends on what your circumstances are. So Edward has come back and says, what about legal contracts, properties with mortgages? Now, this is always a grey area, Edward, because people always say, well, what if the person's got a mortgage? Now, naturally, that person's going to have a consent to let. And what we don't use a lease, we use something called a management contract, which we're going to give you a copy of for people that attend the workshop. The management contract is pretty much the same kind of contract that a letting agency would use. And technically speaking, what we're acting as, in essence, almost like a glorified letting agency with a guaranteed rent in place. So just going through some of the questions. So the course, again, is being held at the Jury's Inn, Broad Street, Birmingham, on the 7th and 8th of May. So Gavin report, Arsh, am I correct in thinking that once we have the property on board, landlord on board, we turn this property into HMO, thus making us a bigger return per month on the property? You've got it in one, Gavin. Okay, so Sunil again, yeah. So just working through. So Yasser's come back and put, can this work in a city like Leeds? Right, Yasser. If it can work in a city like London, ask yourself the question, why can't it work in Leeds? This works absolutely nationwide. The question is, are you ready to work it in Leeds? I know lots of people that are doing it in Leeds, but also doing it incorrectly. Now, you could be pretty much like a key motivator in that location. Someone just said that the sound has gone. Can you just make sure that you can all hear me clearly and say yes or no? Okay. Yeah, okay, still saying that. Okay, a lot of you are saying yeah. So great. I'm just making sure because a couple of people said that the sound had gone. Okay, so it can work. It definitely can work in Leeds. I know a few people that are doing it in Leeds, but you can be the key motivator because you'll be able to do it correctly in Leeds. Now, Eddie's asked a question: how about HMO safety regulations? We'll be going through the HMO safety regulations as well. How to convert a property secure so that it works to the safety regulations. How much generally does it cost to convert a property? Now, this is a key thing. It depends on how much you want to spend on it. Because I know that Neil has done some where it's cost as little as £500 right up to £2,500. So it depends on the state of the property that you take on from day one. So Dora's asked, do we source properties in London? We do, and I've got a very small group of investors that I know that consistently buy the stuff off us in London. So Dora, feel free to get in contact with us. Okay. Sean's asked, do you always leave a shared communal room or do you give them a room each? Do you always leave a shared communal room? Generally in HMOs, depending on what your market is that, the general consensus is that there is a communal lounge left in place. So, that's one thing that you need to have a look to make sure that your property can sustain that as well. Okay, so one person just asked, is that unfortunate? If I can only come for one person, can we do it for half price? Now, unfortunately, the answer to that is that the offer is £995. Generally, if you came on any other day, you would be paying the best part of £2,000 for this plus VAT. Now, for the webinar, we're allowing £995, and that's for one person. But just for tonight, we're allowing you to bring a business partner for free. If you contact us tomorrow, it won't be available. It will be £995 per person. So that's just something to take into consideration. Sorry, I'm just going through some of the other questions. Okay, so someone's put, this would definitely not work in Scotland. Completely different, I think. I disagree. Because one of the ladies, let's have a quick look if she's on one of my testimonials. Sarah Parks, if memory serves me correct. No, she's not on there. She was on one of. We've had a lady called Sarah Parks do extremely well off rent in Scotland. Now, Sean's asked, do you avoid houses that are generally a bit tatty, as this would be a good issue to get good tenants? Generally speaking, Sean, the tatty ones are the easiest landlords to convert. And if you can add value at a low cost, why wouldn't you take them on? Okay, now here's right. What I will do, Yasser's asked a question. He said that he'd like to pair up with someone if possible. So what I'm going to do in a minute is leave you my mobile number, and then you can come back to me and let me know. The one thing that I did forget to say is that as well as attending in person, you have the option to live stream from your own home, which means that as you're watching tonight, you're watching a screen, but when we live stream, you can actually get to see us. So if you can't make it in person and the session is recorded, just like tonight's is recorded, and we send the recording out to all attendees, whether you attend in person or whether you attend just on the live stream. So by all means, if you can't make it in person, you're more than welcome to live stream it, and you get the recording anyway. Because I want you guys to take the opportunity as it stands, but more importantly, use the information that you get straight away to start the very next day. Okay, so Eddie's asked a question from a local authority perspective. How quickly can a property go from a standard house flat to a HMO? Well, here's the thing, Eddie. It can go pretty much the same day. If you find a property and the property is up to standards, you can let that property up to 6 tenants within government guidelines, providing you're not in an Article 4 area, which we could talk a whole day on Article 4. You could pretty much do that the same day, because that's within the government guidelines and national government guidelines. Okay, even in Scotland, Eddie, that's correct. So ask, by all means, if there are any other questions, now's your opportunity, because believe it or not, when I run this with Neil, we always run over, but I think we've actually run well on time tonight. So we've got Neil's Facebook group there. We've got Neil's Facebook page, Skype, and LinkedIn, as well as his website. And you've got my mobile number there. So Tim, if you want to give me a call after the webinar, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to be available for probably in the next half an hour. So if you want to have a little conversation, it's got to be brief. Obviously, I need to spend a bit of time with my family as well. You can also find me on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, which I'm quite active on, as well as my website. You're more than welcome to. Right, just going to go through the last few questions. Sorry, I don't know why I do that. Someone's asked, well, can you quickly talk me, go through, okay, I will do that if we have to. Okay, so someone said, how do we do it? So if you type in that link that we had on screen there, and you put it into your website, into your web browser, it will take you to a page that looks like this. And all you do is you click on this orange button, and that will take you to that, and that will take you through the payment gateway. So just so that you know, because one person said that they wasn't sure how that worked. Okay, so going back to the questions. Right, do you convert the residential property to have consent to let before we can do the rent to rent? Majority of the properties that you will speak into, or the landlords that you're speaking to, will already have consent to let, because they will have a buy to let proper mortgage on them. Okay, so a couple of people said, can I have Neil's details again? Okay, so I think pretty much we've covered a fair bit. So Barry, I look forward to seeing you on the 7th and 8th of May. And look forward to also meeting your business partner as well. So we've got Neil's details there. And if there's anything else, guys, this is your opportunity. Because like I said, I'm happy to answer as many questions as we can. Tim, I'm hoping you and Yas are also going to call me at the end of this. Right, okay. So what method do you use to assess whether an area is suitable for a HMO? Now, Andy, unfortunately, I'd love to answer this question, but I could pretty much talk about a whole day about how to assess the goldmine area. And this is a key. It's understanding the market, the segments, the different types, how much rent you're going to generate, how much rent you're going to pay out to a landlord, where it's work. Now, just give me a quick example now. I never normally do this because this is one of my keys here. This is one of my goals, and this is one thing that I only share with people, attendees. Now, I've got something called a cash flow calculator. Now, one thing that I tend to do, and unfortunately you can't get a copy of this. Now I've got in here the cash flow calculator, and at the end it will tell me, here's a key. Here, how much will it produce? If it produces £110 a month, I'm not going to do it. I'm looking at how much is it going to cost to get involved. I'm having a look at how much it's going to produce cash flow, how much it's going to create per annum, how much is it going to produce, and how long is it going to take to break even. It's going to take 50 months to break even on that one property. It's far too long. 50 months is just over 4 years. Now, if you take the property on for 5 years, what's the point? So that's just something that I will be giving to all workshop attendees. And it's a key tool for me that I use every day. As soon as I find a property, that's the first thing that I put the figures into. And it's the figures for me that will determine whether it's a deal that I want to take on. Do you have a number of Facebook accounts? Yeah, Doris just asked which one is okay. Now, unfortunately, I've got one Facebook account which is fully maxed out at 500. I've also got a profile page, a like page, and also a second. So you're more than welcome to join all those, Dora. So Julius has put, if a property becomes 5 beds from previous 4 beds in a 2-story, do we need a HMO license application? Depends, Julius. Now, there's lots of things with HMOs, which means that you need to ask yourself, is it 2-story? Is it 3-story? How many properties are there? How many tenants are there? Are there 5? Is there 6? What are they sharing? Are they sharing a kitchen? Are they sharing a bathroom? Are they sharing a communal lounge? There's so many things that you have to take into consideration when you're dealing with HMO licenses. The one thing that I would suggest, Julius, is that you read something called the HMO Amenity Guides, which is every council will have one on their website, and it will tell you pretty much the guidelines of what you need to adhere to if you're going to get a licensed property. So Barry's asked a question, what would you say is a reasonable minimum startup figure? I'd say if you've got 5 grand, that's probably more than enough. If you've got 2.5 grand, that will get you out of the blocks. So I hope that helps, Barry. Okay, so guys, I think I've pretty much covered all the questions that you guys have thrown at me, which was quite a few questions there. So if there are any questions, by all means, I'll give you my contact details again. A couple of guys said that they want to speak to me thereafter after this webinar. I'm going to log out in a second. So if you want to have a chat, Tim, Yasser, and a few others, more than welcome to have a chat. But guys, on that note, I'd like to wish you all very well. Have a lovely rest of the evening. I hope to see quite a few of you on the 7th and 8th of May. We're not sure when the next one will be running. It will probably be closer to October. And don't waste that time. Remember, you said that you wanted to get to financial freedom. Use the time now. You've got the ability now to change your life. Let's see what we can do together, and let's see how we can work together. I hope I've provided you with lots of content tonight. I hope you've taken a lot away from it tonight. If there are any questions, like I said, feel free to come back to me. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let's see how we can work together. Take care, guys, and I will speak to you all very soon. Good night. God bless.